Well, this week's block, well, it's kind of like a rail fence, but not really a rail fence, but kind of looks like a rail fence, but it doesn't look like a rail fence. It's confusing, I know. So I'm calling this week's block the confusion block. Let's get started. So this week we continue our exploration of strip set quilt blocks. Now I'm calling this the confusion quilt block because, well, you'll see why. Eric, why don't you do more dancing in your videos? Oh, we can remedy that right now. So to make this week's block, well, I'm using the leftover strip sets that we had from, well, last week. So I got two strip sets here that these were 2.5-inch strips that were sewn together to make this strip set. Now I got two of them here, and I subcut the strip set down to 6.5 inches or 6.5-inch square. So I got two of those, and I got two background squares. These are both 5 inches. Now, let's put these aside for a second and let's focus in on this. If you don't know how to make a strip set, well, here's a very, very quick reminder. Now I got a 5-inch square and a 6.5-inch square. Yeah, they don't mix. So we're gonna need to trim these down to 5 inches. So I'm gonna grab my rulers and we're gonna trim it down to 5 inches. So I'm just picking a side here. Okay, lining up 5-inch mark there, 5-inch line there. We're gonna cut that off. We're gonna cut that one off. Here we go, 5-inch square. Now, don't worry about the varying sizes or the varying widths because that's gonna make for a very interesting block, I should say. These guys, crumbled. Let's cut the second one. Now, the last time I cut the brown fabric a little short. This time I'm gonna cut the turquoise fabric a little short. So we're gonna face one block where the stripes are vertical, and we're gonna put the other one where it's horizontal. Put these, well, before we put these right sides together, I'm gonna actually mark a line on the back because we're gonna make the 2 at a time half square triangles out of these things. I'm gonna draw my line here, as well as here, on the back of the background fabric. I'll do the same with this one. And I'm just using a friction pen here, but you can use any marking tool that you want to. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna put both of these, again, I got one where the strips are vertical, and I'm gonna put the background fabric right sides together, and I'm gonna make sure that the diagonal line is running from top left to bottom right here. Then I'm also gonna put this one where the stripes are running horizontally. And I'm also gonna make sure that that diagonal line is going again from the top left to the bottom right. And we're gonna sew 1/4 inch on both sides of that diagonal line, and we'll have our half square triangles. So let's get to sewing. We sewed 1/4 inch away from those diagonal lines, and you know the drill by now. We're gonna cut on that diagonal line. Cut it there. So we got that one cut. Let's cut this one. So we have our half square triangles, and we're going to trim this down to 4.5 inches. So I'll take my ruler. Actually, I'll take this ruler. Since this is a 4.5 inch ruler, and let me grab the smaller mat so I can rotate it. Now, since this is a 4.5 inch ruler, what I'm going to do is normally, if I have a bigger ruler like this, and I want to square it down to a smaller size, you'll see me put the mark here right on the seam, as well as line up the mark here right on the seam. What I kind of figured out is if I have a square ruler that's the exact size that I need, I can actually line up the diagonal line here right on the seam, and just making sure that I got enough fabric around the perimeter to actually just trim it off, which is so much easier to do. So I will trim this side off, trim off the top. Now I'll just rotate the mat, and I can cut off the dog ear here and cut off the dog ear here, and voila. Oh, missed one. I'll get that there. And we have a nice half square triangle that measures, or should measure, 4.5 inches. And so for this fabric, I'm just going to press it over to the print. And just be careful when you finger press this, because this diagonal, it's on the bias, so you don't want to be stretching that too much. Let's do this one. Again, taking that, since this is a 4.5 inch ruler, I can take the diagonal line, put it right on the seam, and trim off any excess. And just like that, I totally squared up the block, and finger pressing towards the stripes. Now, of course, you can press the seam allowance open if you prefer to, but I just want to press it over to one side because it's a lot easier to do. And there's no need for me to press the seam open on this particular block. And we'll do the same thing for these two. So we have our 4 half square triangle units. I pressed them out, and we squared it up to 4.5 inches. Now, this is why I say this is the confusion block, because the intent of this block was to make it like a rail fence, so that we could actually have one block where the strips go vertical, then the adjacent block where the strips would go horizontal. But, well, I made a little bit of a mistake here. and I think I know what I did wrong. On one of the units, I did it so that the stripes were vertical, and we had our diagonal line going from the top left to the bottom right. On that second unit, we had it where we were going horizontal, and we had it again going from the top left to the bottom right. I wasn't supposed to do that. I was actually supposed to do it so that that second unit would have been where the stripes are going horizontal, but we do it from the bottom left to the top right on the diagonal. So yeah, let me make that correction real quick. And well, yeah, let me just make that correction. Good thing I have extra sets of blocks here because, well, I can make that boo-boo, or I can correct that little mistake there. It was vertical, going from top left to bottom right, so it was this one. And the other side to that would have been this one. Would it be this one? No, can't be that one. Can't be that one. Okay, hold on a second. Must be this one. Yeah. So those two match up. And these two go like that. Yes. Okay. Yep. Again, confusion block. Moment of reflection. So again, on this one, the diagonal went from the top left to the bottom right. So on this one, I gotta go from the bottom left to the top right. And I wanna make sure that my stripes are horizontal, which is the opposite of that. Let's resew this and let's unconfuse this confusion block. Wait, before I cut it, let me double check to see if this is right. That one goes like that, that goes like that. This one will go like this, and this one then goes like that. Yep, looks right this time. So now we can cut it. So let's see how we did. Did we get it right this time? Let's see. Okay, so we got one block like that. Next one like that. Now this one goes like that. Looking good so far. Haha. It's kind of a rail fence where you got one block going horizontal. The block next to it has the stripes going vertical, vertical, horizontal. Kind of a rail fence, but not really a rail fence, but very confusing to make. Took us a while. Good thing I had some extra pieces. So in weeks past, I've asked you what type of iron that you use. I've also asked you what type of sewing thread that you use. Well, this week, here's the question. Rotary cutters. Which ones do you use? Now, this rotary cutter that you commonly see me use on these videos, well, this is an OFA rotary cutter. It's a 45 millimeter. And although it's not my favorite cutter, I do like it because it is one of those where you can actually change the blade real easily, where you'll just, on the back side here, you kind of just pull this red tab down and the blade just kind of pops up, or yeah, the blade just kind of pops itself out. And so it makes it convenient to actually change the blade on this. My favorite rotary cutter, this guy. This is a Martelli rotary cutter. It's a 60 millimeter. I like it because it fits real nicely in my hand. It doesn't put any strain on my wrist here. Just kind of glides right over the cutting mat. So this Martelli cutter, it's my favorite. And you see a lot of YouTubers actually use this particular cutter. It does take some time to get used to it because, well, your hand is in an awkward position. Unlike this, where you just hold it down. I guess I got so used to holding it that I kind of hold this cutter the same way. Again, it does take some getting used to because it's a little bit awkward at first, especially if you're using one of these. But I like it because it's comfortable and it looks like you can cut your finger off, but you know, there's a safety guard here. And so when you hold it like that, yeah, you're not cutting your finger. This is a TrueCut rotary cutter. Now, there's a whole cutting system that goes along with this particular rotary cutter. I didn't really care for the whole cutting system, but I do like the rotary cutter itself. Now, this TrueCut rotary cutter is actually made by Grace Company, in which, again, they have a whole system of their own rulers, this rotary cutter that kind of match up and kind of go together. You hold it the same way you hold the Martelli cutter, in that your finger goes across on the top here. And so it makes it very comfortable for anybody who has wrist issues, carpal tunnel, you know, it kind of relaxes your wrist here and doesn't put the strain on it. Unlike some of these other rotary cutters where you'll tend to do that. These make it very, very comfortable to actually just hold in your hand and just glide right over the cutting mat. Now, I know a lot of people use, again, the Martelli cutter. And again, this is my favorite rotary cutter, but it's a personal preference. That's my question of the week for you, for all of you this week is, what rotary cutters do you use and which one's your favorite? Because if you're like me, you might have a variety of them. So which one's your favorite and which ones do you use? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, some other interesting news. A couple of weeks ago, I did a live session where we actually did, I think it was block number 34. No, 33. I tell you, this confusion block has me all twisted. Well, anyway, one of the weeks we did a live session where I sold the block live, and I was kind of thinking to myself and just asking people, would you want to see more of that? And they kind of said, yeah, let's do more of those lives. I like it because it's one less video to edit, but you get the raw me too, or the unedited version of me. Well, I was kind of thinking about it, and I think I'm gonna just make it official. So once a week, or no, once a week, that's a little too often. Once a month, or we will do one of the blocks on a live session. When that will be, well, I'll let you know ahead of time. A lot of subscribers were saying they like the idea because, well, they get to chat to one another. Okay, I hear you loud and clear. So again, sometime later on this month of April, we'll do another live session where we're actually going to sew one of the blocks together, and you'll get the unedited version of me, which sometimes can be so not so beautiful. I'm gonna put these blocks right sides together, and let's get this block sewn. And here is my confusion block. Well, the block ends up being about 8.5 inches, of course, give or take your seam allowance. Well, I like the fact that we didn't have equal sized unit or strips here. Because we cut it down from a 6.5 to a 5-inch block, it made it a little bit more interesting because you got varying widths of these strip sets. If you ask me, I like that. because it makes it just a little bit more interesting. Don't be confused by the orientation when you make your half square triangles. Make sure that you have one of the diagonals going from bottom corner to the top corner, and then on the opposite side you go from the top corner down to the bottom corner. Don't make the same mistake that I did, which is precisely why I kept it in this video. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy making your confusion block, and don't be so confused by it. Now, in case you forgot, we have done blocks that use strip sets before, so check those videos out here. And as always, go out and create something. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. Put a comment down below saying what you liked or maybe even what you didn't like. And join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. You can post pictures of the blocks that you created or just scroll through and gather inspiration from other Treasure Heart Creation Group members. And from time to time, there are giveaways exclusively for Treasure Heart Creation Group members. So use the link in the description box below to sign up. If you're on Instagram, post pictures of the blocks that you're working on using the hashtag THC5252. Well, that's it for now. Now go out and create something.